Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of Let's Talk Broncos. And if you can't already tell, we have one special guest in the studio today with us at Mile High Sports in the Mario Vetanze. Look at him throwing up signs over here. The man. Just gesture.
They're gang signs that mean I love you. I love you, everybody. Thank you for watching and listening.
The 90s era wrestler of Broncos analysts. I love it. You've got all the...
Yeah! You better be eating your vitamins, Seegers.
I feel like a fight's going to break out. I think that you can probably throw him through this table just fine.
This isn't Buffalo, okay? We conduct ourselves a little bit more professionally than that.
I didn't think we'd be getting the lecture on professionalism from Mario today.
From this guy. If this guy's talking to you about professionalism, something's wrong. Something's amok.
Something is running amok, and that's exactly what we're doing here today on a very special episode of Let's Talk Broncos. We're going in a little different direction today, but first and foremost, gentlemen, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited about our guest today. I'm excited about the 2000s draft. I think it's interesting because I didn't watch.
Were you guys alive?
I didn't watch the early 2000s.
My first season I remember watching was 2007, so I had to do a lot of research for this. And we were talking about it before the show. It's like growing up, you heard about the 90s Broncos with Elway and Dave. Like, I have a pretty good idea of all the players that played then. If we did an 80s draft, I think I could have done that. Okay, 70s, like those eras, I've actually heard talked about more than the 2000s. So this was like my biggest Broncos blind spot. It was fun researching for this.
Yeah,
that makes me sad.
I'm sorry, Mario.
Well, because 2007, that was a couple years after they went to the AFC Championship game, and that was the year that I graduated high school.
Ooh, yeah. Patriots road game week 3 is like the first game I really vividly remember watching on TV.
Yeah, it's funny actually. I think 2007 is for mine too. Like, I remember Jay Cutler.
What the hell is going on right now?
I don't know.
This is the make Bree and Mario.
Should we carbon date these guys? Like, you guys even old enough to drink? This is ridiculous.
The old jokes.
Can you go buy tobacco products and lottery tickets even?
Lottery card.
The old jokes are going to be flying when you guys draft the early 2000s Broncos.
Listen, you fetuses, when you guys can grow hair on your faces, you can come over here on this side of the table and talk to me.
Well, they did. They split us by olds.
Yeah.
They did it on purpose.
This is intentional
this is what's happening now. That was a terrible high five. That's what you get.
Wow.
You youth don't know how to high five like the real one.
Time mark.
That's how it goes.
We're cutting that.
The bad high five? Yeah.
Time mark.
100%.
Anyways, I can already tell it's going to be a fantastic episode. I'm excited for this. If I already haven't said so, I'm Bree Mace, Zach Seegers, Joey Richards. Find us on Twitter. Follow the podcast, the LTB Podcast. You can also follow Mario if you so feel obliged. Mario, what's your Twitter handle?
At Mile High Mario. I would recommend you don't follow me, though. But if you want to, then that's your choice.
There you go.
Love it. That's how we like to start our shows, with a warning, with a just flagrant warning of do not follow us.
Right.
Don't pay attention to anything we have to say. Let's get started. I think we have a draft order set as well. It's going to start with Mario. It's going to go around the table, and then this is going to be a snake draft. We're just going to do 2 times through, I believe. So there's going to be a total of 8 players taken. We are drafting the best players from the 2000s era, and that is prior to 2010. So nobody past that era. We're going to give a little highlight to the player as we choose them, and then we're going to go from there, and then we're going to put a poll up on Twitter and see who won. And I'm looking directly at you, Broncos country. You better vote correctly. That's all I'm saying.
That is a threat.
Yeah.
If you were wondering.
Please let me win one of these polls.
It was a very thinly veiled threat.
That was nuts.
Never threatened anybody.
Anyway, should I go?
Yeah. First over, Mario's on the clock.
That was a really good segue. I mean, there's, like we talked about before the show started, there's really only one actual pick, right? It's Olandis Gary. I mean, that guy. It's Champ Bailey. The nice thing about Olandis Gary is, the voice would come on the Jumbotron and be like, Olandis Gary on the carry, and the crowd would go crazy because it rhymed. No, it's Champ Bailey. And honestly, like we were talking about before the show started, when the trade went down, I think like maybe half of Broncos country, they weren't thrilled about it, because back then running backs had a much bigger effect on the games and on the sport than they do now. And Clinton Portis, JR, like you were saying before, like he went bonkers when he was with Denver.
He did.
Like that Mike Shanahan offense was almost like catered specifically to him, and he was insane. And so they trade him. It's like, obviously everyone knew who Champ Bailey was, but it's like, why are we trading our best offensive player for a corner? It's like, why do we want Champ Bailey when Clinton Portis was the offensive rookie of the year? It's like he can run us to another Super Bowl. And then, revisionist history, and we see how everything pans out. And it turns out, yeah, Champ Bailey was probably the right call.
Yeah, and it's interesting, man. It's another example of Mike Shanahan's genius. Like, the guy was ahead of his times. If you just look at years played, not only Champ Bailey was amazing, like a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah.
Clinton Portis not. The years played, it's not even close. I think Champ Bailey has as many Pro Bowls,
which is crazy because he was a corner.
Yeah, as much as he has as many Pro Bowls as Clinton Portis has playing years.
Now,
like,
if I remember correctly,
insane.
he might have overlapped with Darryl Green,
yeah,
who played till he was 40.
Yeah.
So maybe there was something in the water in Washington at that time,
right?
And he got just enough of it to have a prolonged career. Or he was just buddies with Darryl Green, and Darryl Green's like, I will show you the fountain of youth, champ, but you can't tell literally any other corner ever about it.
I like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish you got to be a part of that Broncos Super Bowl winning team. It's the one thing that kills me with Champ Bailey.
Always, man.
But yeah, just all-time Bronco. I feel like because he was in that pocket that didn't win a Super Bowl, he gets overlooked a little bit when we talk about the Broncos Mount Rushmore and are quick to throw Vaughn up there, though I think he's deserving. And like Peyton, who only spent 4 years with the team, I think Champ deserves more consideration in those conversations, but easy first overall pick.
Right. Yeah.
Real quickly, without looking or cheating, interceptions all time.
Like, where is he ranked, or how many does
How
he
many
have?
total?
We're gonna say like 48.
Ooh.
71.
60.
I
Pick
thought
in between.
during the playing time in the 2000s, it would have been 28.
Oh,
we were
all the way
2000s.
down.
That's
I got you.
only the 2000s.
Oh, we're not going overall. What was his all-time
Overall,
number?
I would assume
Let's
it would have to
look it
be
up real
in,
quick.
like, 40
Maybe a
to
little
50
higher.
range.
Yeah, 40.
I don't think it's 70.
Mario's
I think the
closer.
all-time
Yeah, 70
the
is way
all-time
too
record
high.
I think is 81 by Krause.
Yeah, and they're older because of more interceptions in that time, and
The
smart
dead ball
quarterbacks didn't
era.
throw. Yeah,
Yeah.
smart quarterbacks didn't throw. Champ's way. What's the
those
number?
guys threw like Ben Albright back in the day. It's like if Ben was a quarterback in the 30s, he would have fit in perfectly.
Yep. Well, okay, adding on to your point, Champ Bailey led the league in picks 1 year with 10. Very impressive. And years like that, 8 the year before that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Absurd.
52 total in his entire
I
career.
said 40 to 50, so I was off. You were closest.
Yeah.
I was closest without going over. I think circle gets the square.
Wow, the old reference coming through the.
Oh, they're going to happen. Like, they're going to have to sit here and listen to references they don't understand because they asked for this.
We were doing it off camera.
That's even an
Fruitopia.
outdated reference for me, but I used it anyway.
It was good. I appreciate it. I did watch that show.
So circle gets the square.
You took my number 1 overall because it was the obvious choice.
You should have seen it coming.
I did. I tried to avoid the red flag, and it just went straight into it.
That seems to be a chronic issue with you, but we can talk about that more later.
My therapist said not to share that on live. So,
I never said that.
well, all right, here we are. My football talk leads to real life. Let's go. Rod Smith overall, 2000, 2006, 3-time Pro Bowler, 5,000 yards season, 1,600 yards in 2000, and 43 touchdowns throughout that period. Got to be number 2 for me. I had to do it.
I think that's a fantastic pick. And I remember, since these guys weren't alive when it actually happened, when Elway retired, a lot of people were worried that, Rod Smith would fall off. It's like, well, what is Rod Smith without John Elway? He produced with Brian Griese. He produced with Jake Plummer. In fact, I believe he made a Pro Bowl in 2006, which would have been 8 years after Elway retired, which is pretty insane. So yeah, that's an excellent pick.
That one's up there.
And he completed a pass to John Elway one time, which is pretty cool.
That's a cool little
Cool little thing.
question of the day.
First ever touchdown, Hail Mary game-winning touchdown against Washington.
So Rod Smith was going to be my pick. I won't lie.
We're just you're never
Just move it down the bench.
I could cheat here with the player, and I think I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
We spoke about this player a little earlier, and the reason why I'm about to take this guy, because it's almost like I'm taking 2 in 1. I'm taking the player that was traded for Champ Bailey because we got Champ Bailey out of him.
That's a good point. Yeah.
We got Clinton Portis, who gave us 2 1,500-yard seasons. I was looking at his second season in the league. The guy averaged 122 yards a game during that season. Unbelievable. So I'm getting those 2 seasons, and then it's almost like I'm getting Champ Bailey's on top of it.
If that's how you want to spin it, Joey, that's okay.
That's some spin. You do not get a count. Champ Bailey seasons are going to him. I'm not letting you muddy the fan vote as you have the past 2 times. This is some cheating bullshit.
Okay,
this is Mario.
I'll be honest. I don't know who made Zach the referee in this.
It's honestly my job, but like I feel like he's taken over. And...
then referee. I didn't see a refereeing, so I thought the job was vacant.
I can't reach the buttons to kill your mic.
Yeah, so I'm taking like 2 players almost.
That's nonsense.
Stop. Knock it off.
Those aren't the rules.
Joey's pick is Clinton Portis and only Clinton Portis.
As you can see, the draft board is now covering my face. Mario, first overall champ, Bailey, Bree with Rod Smith, and Joey with Clinton Portis, putting me up on the clock. I think I'm going to go with Trevor Price here. And I want to make sure I have all his accolades up in front of me because, again, he was before my time. But looking at all he did is insane for the Broncos. I feel like this is a Broncos legend that gets underrated way too much. He was a 2-time All-Pro in the 2000s. For the Broncos. Not many other people in this draft can say that. 3-time Pro Bowler during that same time. His what he added to the team was good enough that he was named to the Denver Broncos 50th anniversary team as one of their 50 greatest players of all time. And most of his career with the Broncos was spent after the turn of the century or the turn of the millennia. Based on his stats, it looks like he was a really great pass rusher, also an effective run stuffer as well. Tell me more about Trevor Price, Mario and Bree.
Yeah, the
Trevor Price's rookie year was their Super Bowl victory.
Yeah.
So it's funny because that team was so unbelievably loaded, kind of top to bottom, and Trevor Price was like their big time rookie that like contributed to that team, and it's so crazy, like you're saying, like he somehow looked over, despite having a long career with the Broncos, a very productive career with the Broncos. I don't know if it was just like the era where like the D-line, like there weren't really edge rushers, right? Like you rushed the passer, but you had D ends and you had D tackles, and those weren't the sexy players. It's like you're not worried about what's going on in the trenches. It's like no one really knew the offensive line, no one really knew the defensive line. It was like you had the sexy, fast, big linebackers that laid people out. You know, you had the big, sexy safeties, and then you had the sleek, sexy corners.
Yeah.
Those guys were sexy. The D-line, not so much. So maybe that's why he gets overlooked, because the game has changed. So now edge rusher is like arguably the most important piece of the defense. But back then it wasn't. So it's changed a lot. So maybe it just speaks to how the game has changed over the years of like Trevor Price was important. He put up the stats, but he was just kind of like an overlooked member of the Broncos franchise.
Which is crazy considering he's 6'6", 290, like big dude. Big.
I had no idea. Like
hard to look over him.
Yeah. Totally. Trevor Price is one of those guys that I had just like missed. And looking over his stats, completely underrated to me. I don't feel like anybody talks about Trevor Price.
Never. He isn't talked about as much as like Haven Moses. And I don't know, like this guy played a decade ago for the Broncos, or 15 years ago, and was awesome. Haven Moses was great, but he played like 40, 50 years ago. There's not film out there that people are watching of Haven Moses. Trevor Price played for this team like 15 years ago. Right. He should be talked about more.
Haven Moses might have been before like my parents' time.
That's my point.
That's a name, yeah.
And voted to the Pro Bowl 4 times in a row.
Yeah. And go along with that during the time period you
5 times.
Him. Oh, sorry. I thought it was
No, you're right. But 4 times during or 3 times during the decade, one of the 2.
4 in a row, 5 times total.
All right, sweet.
Yeah, so during that time, when you drafted him, it would be 2000 to 2005. He had 40.5 sacks, which is unbelievable.
And I'm missing his first team All-Pro nod by 1 year in 99.
Yep, and the year 2000, he's a defensive tackle that had 12 sacks. It's impressive stuff.
Wow. That's a good pick.
Yeah.
I think you get to go again.
I do, and I'm going with someone who I know Joey and Bree wanted to take because they were telegraphing their big board, John Lynch. I'm going with John Lynch, and I think it's easy.
John Lynch is a Buccaneer.
He's a Buccaneer, but he was a great Bronco in the 2000s.
So you wait.
He's one of the only Broncos jerseys.
So you're taking John Lynch over like Brian Dawkins?
Yeah, Brian Dawkins spent and also he came over in 2010, didn't he? Or maybe 2009, but spent a season. Is Brian Dawkins in the Ring of Fame?
I guess it was more influential about like the effect that he had.
Maybe in
on
the
rest
longer,
of the team.
but he did not. I don't know if that's even true though. John Lynch made the Pro Bowl every single season he was in Denver, so 4 years straight, and he's in the Denver Broncos Ring of Fame. And he won the Bart Starr Award during his time with the Broncos, which is given to the player who best exemplifies outstanding character and leadership. So I'm gonna shove your Brian Dawkins point, Mario. So yeah, I think John Lynch, the guy's in the Ring of Honor,
Okay,
and he got that honor in just 4 years of playing time.
Let me ask you this then, really quick. Do you think that was the right call? Should he be in the Ring of Honor?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. When you look at some of the names in there, I think more people should be in it, but I think he's one of them.
I disagree. I'll be straight up honest.
Go for it.
Why?
Why do you think that?
Because when I think of John Lynch, I don't think of him as a Bronco. That's just ridiculous. That's my take.
Should John Elway not John Elway? Should Peyton Manning not be in the?
But here's the difference. If you were in a coma from the beginning of Peyton Manning's career to the end, right, and you had no frame of reference, and you just woke up and you experienced Peyton Manning the way that we do today, would you ever think he played for a team other than the Broncos?
It's fair.
Yeah, in Denver, we all think
he still wears like orange and blue suits. Like he has stuck it to the city of Indianapolis so unbelievably hard that Indianapolis cannot walk straight anymore. Okay.
I think everyone in Denver thinks of Peyton Manning as a Bronco, and I don't think everyone thinks of John Lynch as a Bronco. Like that's how I think of it.
That's fair. I think he was also a safety rather than like a quarterback, which I think impacts some of it as well. But he was playing at an insanely high level during that.
There's some players. I think it's the Super Bowl, if I'm being honest with you guys. Because a lot of those Broncos on that Super Bowl team came from other teams, and I think of them as Broncos. Like, I don't know.
The Broncos are a large part of his Hall of Fame candidacy.
No. All right. I mean, I'm mad. I would.
So you had a bold strategy. You went.
It's about a third.
You went 2 defensive players.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think these are the most valuable. I think they're the best players available. I'm going BPA.
All right.
Okay.
My pick. All right.
Let's go.
Taking a player that I watched a lot, and one of my favorite defensive players I watched as growing up as a Broncos fan was Elvis Dumervil. I loved Elvis Dumervil.
Love that.
Yeah.
That was going to be my pick. Oh, I pulled no, that's your pick. I'm just saying I pulled a Mike Mayock and totally screwed up my
I hope
big
the
board.
fans
Did you screw up the facts?
Yeah.
I didn't screw up the facts. I just screwed up my big board. I wanted to go.
Fax machine broke down. You got the wrong pick in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's the perfect Elvis Dumervil. Yeah, I did.
So good.
Absolute nightmare.
19-year-old Zach is like, what's a fax machine?
I've never held a CD before.
I know.
My
I
neck
thought
is
you
really
literally
long.
meant.
I'm so freaking mad right now. Okay.
Well, he made fun of my neck, not yours. What the fuck are you mad about?
Joey took my player.
All right, so Elvis Dumervil, he was in the Broncos for 4 seasons during the 2000s. He's an awesome player. During that time, 45 sacks. He was a one-time All-Pro player, a one-time Pro Bowl player, and what year was it? In 2009, he had 17 sack season, which is amazing. I think we all know how great a 17 sack season is. And I mean, he would have been a Bronco longer, right? Like we wanted him back. That he was a good player, and he had good years with the Ravens after.
Yeah. Wasn't he like a 5th or 6th round pick?
Yeah, I think he was like a 5th or 4th round pick. I remember he's from Louisville.
Yeah, Louisville.
And I have to look that up. But
one of the reasons that he fell so far is because he was considered undersized for an edge because he was a shorter guy. But the reason that he was so good is his leverage. So even though he was shorter, he had unbelievably long arms. So if I remember correctly, his wingspan was longer than his height.
All-time weird body guy.
Yeah, big time. So he could get in on you and keep the offensive lineman at a distance, and then he could get leverage because he was about chest high with the offensive lineman.
Yeah, I mean, he's listed at 5'11",
Yeah.
250.
How are we ever going to see a
Also-
5'11" edge rusher ever again?
Man, that's nuts.
Or have we? Or
It's
have
rare.
we?
It's rare.
Is he
it's
the
really rare.
only one?
He is always referenced whenever you see a shorter edge entering the draft, and it's like, oh, maybe he's that light. It's always Elvis Dumervil. And I think he is a case that if you are going to be a shorter edge, you better have those freaky long arms so you can still get that leverage to your point. I want to touch on Joey's Elvis Dumervil still being great in Baltimore. In 4 seasons in Baltimore, he racked up, or I guess 24 started games. He racked up, sorry, I'm trying to get sacks, 35 and a half sacks. So a lot of that's rotational. 55 games, though, 35 and a half sacks over 4 seasons. He was almost a 10 sack a season guy still.
Oh, yeah.
And Broncos could have gotten a good bit of production out of him. And he probably would have been producing better than that if he was playing
With
alongside Vaughn, as he would have. His best season was or no, that was Vaughn's breakout year.
I
Was
mean,
that second year in Denver together?
There's
2012.
not a lot of pass rushers that have 2 17-sack seasons through their
No,
10 years.
crazy.
Like
He- I'll bolster Joey's case here just because I'm surprised to realize this. In 2009, he's a first team All-Pro, a Pro Bowler, and he finishes 3rd in AP Defensive Player of the Year voting.
Yeah, he was that good. He was that dude when he was here.
17 sacks.
100%. And the funny thing is, if it wasn't for Vaughn being Vaughn, I think a lot more Bronco fans would be a lot saltier about how the whole Elvis Dumervil thing went down. He's like, you have a Von Miller, so he kind of like he picked up
And
that
where
mantle,
coming
right?
in and being who he was.
Exactly. But like, let's say that Von Miller isn't Von Miller. All of a sudden, as a Bronco fan, you are livid that they are trying to get a deal done over a fax machine, right?
Yeah.
What could have been?
So, Bree, who are you gonna? I mean, I'm sure you wanted that pick.
I did, and I'm kind of upset right now. I'm mad at all of you.
You've been on the clock for a while.
Well, I was. I know. I don't. I'm going. Okay, I'm going. Brandon Marshall.
Why
I
is-
love the Brandon.
why is-
I'm so mad I took John Lynch.
Why is Delta O'Neal even on your radar? What a
Yeah, I was
weird
saying-
choice that would be.
I was saying the same thing.
Get off my board.
Fun fact: isn't he the guy that had 6 fumbles as a corner?
It's like, how could you be so good that you fumble 6 times as a DB?
I was sitting there reading that.
He had 37 touches his rookie year. This is just because we were researching it. 37 touches his rookie year, 6 fumbles.
For Delta?
Yeah.
Well, because he was a return man
Yeah,
too, right?
that's how he got so many. But still,
Still,
1 out
dude.
of 6 times he touched the ball, he fumbled. That's got to be an NFL record.
He's got to get some stickum from Clipper Franklin from the
Yeah.
replacements. Lord have
when
mercy.
when that one was out there and we were talking about him, the way I brought it up, I was like, wow, this O'Neal guy had 6 forced fumbles.
This O'Neal guy.
Oh wait.
I gotta say, while we were researching the 2000 segment, I was putting together graphics, and I'm so mad because I knew both Bree and Joey were targeting John Lynch, and so I don't have as good of a big board, or strong as a big board in front of me, and I was like,
Oh, sure.
John
blame
Lynch
it
is
on
a good.
us.
Oh, it's not your fault. It's totally my fault for not preparing enough. But I was like, okay, John Lynch, this is the best pick. I would have taken Elvis Dumervil over him if I was thinking straight. I would have taken Brandon Marshall over him if I was thinking straight. I'm livid. I'm livid with my mistake right now. I feel like the Eagles taking Jalen Reagor.
Oh, my goodness. A little recap right here before we move on. 2006, 2009, 3 seasons straight of 1,000 yards. Pro Bowler in 2008 and 9. 25 touchdowns in his 4 seasons. Yeah.
I listened to there's a podcast that he's like the host on. It's a great podcast. It's called I Am Athlete. Brandon's the guy on there, and it's such a funny story. He interviewed Kyle Shanahan, and Kyle Shanahan had a great story about how he was a kid and he was the reason he convinced Mike Shanahan to draft him. I just thought that was an interesting thing.
Dang, that's pretty.
Dang,
pretty
that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What was the story behind him convincing Mike? What was his? What did he say that
So
convinced him?
They took a receiver before Brandon. I forget the guy's name, but
I
he
can look it up
obviously
quick.
didn't pan out. And
That was the draft they took Cutler and Scheffler
yeah,
as well.
Scheffler, and then there was another receiver. He said
Who's also on my big board.
that he drafted before Brandon Marshall that year.
I'm Jay Cutler. I have diabetes.
Oh no, I was talking about Tony
And-
Shuffler.
Okay.
Apparently, Kyle called his dad livid about how they didn't draft Brandon Marshall.
Are you looking up
For
what
that
other
pick.
receiver? I cannot remember. So he must have been
They
very
did, but
forgettable.
it was a receiver they drafted after Brandon Marshall, to be fair. So maybe it was like drafting Tony Scheffler, the
Maybe.
tight end, but they drafted Dominic Hickson that same year.
That's what they said in the podcast. So maybe Kyle
Maybe he meant
forgot.
Scheffler then,
Maybe
because
he-
he's like a
Maybe he
pass
was
catcher.
misremembering it as a wide receiver and it was Scheffler.
So, anyways, he said that he called his dad livid because he's been talking up this Brandon Marshall guy the entire time.
He was baby T.O.
Yeah,
That was what
that's-
he was billed as when
And he
he
really
got
was.
drafted, and he was actually bigger than T.O.
Yeah, and that's what
which is
That's
crazy.
what Kyle said to his dad was like, "This guy's T.O." And
with all the behavior problems.
yeah, exactly. And at the time, he was like, "Well, you're gonna be pissed off because when it's a pick, I'm taking a different receiver." And
He told him that.
yeah. So when he was like, "No, I studied this draft class at the receiver so much more than you," because for people that don't know, Kyle Shanahan played receiver.
Receiver's his position. His baby.
And-
That's why he's so hard on Ayuk and whatnot.
Yeah, and so I guess phone rang up. He was pissed off, and they ended up taking Brandon Marshall. And Mike called him back and was like, "You're right. You did study the receivers more than me."
That's hysterical.
Yeah, it's a great segment. I recommend everyone to go watch.
That's
it.
awesome. I'm gonna definitely pull that up.
Yeah.
Mario, you're on the clock now with the final pick in the draft.
This is a lot of pressure because there's still a lot of good names on the board. So I will be signing a decent amount of these guys to my practice squad.
I'm so mad. I'm gonna get like 0% of the vote, man. I'm really depressed about that. Like I fumbled the. I drafted Trevor Price,
Do you
and I
want a
immediately
third
went.
round?
No, it's fine. I just immediately went like, oh, the lesson I learned the first 2 times is not to like go with who I think's best. Like you got to play into the fan bit a bit. And drafting Trevor Price is not doing that. And then I took John Lynch too. Oh my God, I concocted the worst draft.
So
I'm fucking Mike Mayock.
I was gonna do Jason
Oh.
Elam and Tony Scheffler just for the hell of it.
I was considering Jason Elam. He was like, first off, I'm trying to think. Like,
Elam's a 2000s legend.
he is, and he's one of the best kickers of all time. But it's like I can, in good conscience, take a kicker. I love Jason Elam. I love the fact that he went to Hawaii. Like it's so random. It's like you're super white and you kicked at Hawaii. Like, please explain this to me. It makes no sense. I mean, I love Jason Elam, but I'm not going to take him.
Man, if you're going to be a kicker, I think Hawaii's the place to go. Like, why go to Bama? You're not going to like, you don't want to do those two-a-days to be a kicker. Go to Hawaii.
You know who had it right? Mason Crosby. Go to like be in Colorado with the thin air.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. Hawaii, no, they're playing at sea level.
Yeah, they're at sea level, so it might be a little tougher. So I'm thinking, should I take somebody who the Broncos drafted because that's like the big thing. Obviously, they didn't draft Champ Bailey, and I'm like, nah, I don't really want to do that. Should I go offensive linemen? Because it's like Tom Nalen, Ryan Clady, some of the best offensive linemen in the history of the Broncos. Nalen should absolutely be in the Hall of Fame, but we are leaving the votes up to the fans. You're not going to vote for someone who's not sexy. You heard me earlier. I'm all about the sexy. Look at me. I'm
Mario's
dripping.
not drafting Trevor
I'm just
Price.
dripping with sexy. No, I'm way too sexy to draft Trevor Price at any point. Okay. So I'm going to take Jake the Snake Plummer.
Oh, Mario won.
The third best quarterback in the history of the Broncos.
He definitely
Fight with yourself.
Wow.
Nice spelling that.
He definitely won until I throw out the Clinton Portis Slash champion.
Can I throw some other names out there really quick that I just want to
run through some
another name that I really considered for this pick was Darren Williams.
Yep.
And obviously out the tragedy aside, that kid could play. That dude was unbelievable. His energy was incredible. He was undersized, he was overlooked, and he just continuously proved guys wrong. And honestly, Chris Harris's game reminded me a lot of how Darren Williams played. And it's awful that we obviously didn't get to see him in everything that happened. But man, when he was here, that guy was absolutely electric. 2 other guys that I wanted to mention, DJ Williams and Al Wilson.
Yep.
Al Wilson was probably and is probably my favorite Broncos linebacker of all time because I got to see him. Like that was my era of like really growing up and being involved in Broncos country. And Al Wilson, every single game, just brought the absolute lumber. That guy was an absolute blast to watch.
He was a monster. I remember that injury still pretty vividly. I'm pretty sure it was against the Ravens. That was painful one, but an incredible player.
If we went through again, I was probably going to target Nayland, but I also had Eddie Royal hanging out around there just because.
Maybe you should have screened this with somebody before we started.
Wow.
And while we're giving,
I don't think I did bad.
While we're giving honorable,
I think I did bad.
I'm glad Bree's falling on this sword.
So if you were,
you should have taken Daniel Graham before any of those people. You had Scheffler over Daniel Graham.
I'm kidding with the Scheffler pick. It was a complete.
Geez, take Keith Burns if we're not worried about winning the poll.
We'll see what the poll shows us, Mario.
Keith Burns was a really good special teamer.
I'll tell you.
Zach, if you weren't going to take, or if you did take Elvis Dumervil, my honorable mention, I would have to take Ryan Clady. I love Ryan Clady.
He was the guy I thought of too.
If he doesn't get hurt, man, if he doesn't, and I think he got hurt playing basketball.
Yeah, he got hurt playing basketball.
That dude was an all-pro his rookie year.
Yeah.
Did not give up a sack. He might not have given up a pressure, and he had no holding calls, I think, for the first 2 years of his career.
He was insane.
There's no reason for that.
So
there's no reason that a tackle should never have a holding
call. And you look
call.
at how long tackles play. He should have won a Super Bowl, or I guess he did that final year with Peyton. He was part of the 2015 team, but
he was, yeah. He was there. That was his last year. I think
he should have been holding on the left side. Bull should be a right tackle. Because
that's the thing. Like they don't take
tackle.
If that doesn't happen to Clady, because after that injury, it's like he still played, but he was never that guy.
Yeah,
like that
he
same
was
guy.
good, but he was not.
But if he doesn't have that injury, they don't draft Garrett Bowles. No. It's like as great as Garrett has been, it's like you're not taking a left tackle if you have a healthy Ryan Clady.
Yeah. Yep.
It's crazy.
So
you maybe take Ryan Ramczyk because he actually is a right tackle.
Yeah.
The craziest stat I found on Ryan Clady, I tweeted this out the other day. I have you guys know, in my home little studio, I have the big autographed Ryan Clady jersey behind me. Love Ryan Clady, but the crazy stat about Ryan Clady, I'm curious to know if he still holds this record. He didn't give up a full sack in his first 20 starts of his career.
Which was a record at the time.
It's insane.
And we believe it's still a record. We couldn't find updated date on it.
And see, the thing is,
but it was a record at the time.
It's not like he was blocking for like a Hall of Famer. It's like you would think blocking for a Peyton Manning, a Tom Brady, somebody like that. Yeah, you probably don't have to block for too long. And it's going to be easier in the grand scheme of things to not give up a hold. But he blocked for Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
Really? It's insane to me.
It is.
It's absolutely absurd.
It is.
Whoever the quarterback is.
And really quick, I'm trying to see when Jason Peters, who was playing.
He's so bad. His draft is so bad.
I'm really depressed about it. Jason Peters.
Look at that. It's so stupid.
Mario's taking over 2 mics.
That thing's falling flat like your hair, Zach.
God damn, Mario. Okay. Jason Peters was drafted in 2004 and was a high-end tackle in 2007, 2018. I think he started petering off in like 2019.
Somewhere, or he had a visit.
Or he got cut. Now he's like just starting to peter off in 2021, 2022.
Yeah.
Trent Williams was the best tackle in football last year, drafted in 2010.
Joe
Tyrone
Thomas
Smith
played for like, what, 15 years?
Exactly. Tyrone Smith. And he retired early. I don't think he played 15, but he retired early because he was just tired of being on the losing Browns. Tyrone Smith has had bad injury luck all throughout his career. Drafted in 2011, still a high-end tackle before this latest injury. If Ryan Clady doesn't suffer that basketball injury, there's a good chance that he's still a quality high-end left tackle for the Broncos, or is just now starting to experience his decline.
That's so bizarre. I mean,
and it's heartbreaking to think about.
The way that everything panned out, I'm obviously okay with, because I love me some Garrett Bowles.
Yeah,
I love that dude, and I love that Karlaftis came out and like basically called Russ Little and like said he couldn't wait to draft him, and then Garrett like responded on Twitter, but it was very kind of subtle, and he's just gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna say like welcome to the NFL or whatever, and I'm like, oh, dude, Garrett is gonna maul that poor boy. Garrett's gonna put that dude in the dirt. Oh no, he just wrote his own obituary, you big idiot. Learn something other than a bull rush, Karlaftis. You moron, go back to your country.
Wow.
Good.
Not a friend of the pod.
Nothing against him.
No,
I mean,
George
he
Carlin-
seems like a good guy, but
You should go back to your country, then nothing against him.
just saying, his country's probably nice. I don't know why you're here.
Greece.
Like, wait, you came all the way to America so Garrett Bowles could be your daddy? Like, that's weird. Don't you have a father already?
This is why we needed Mario in studio.
Probably what, Denmark or wherever he's from?
Greece.
Yeah, whatever. They're all the same. It's America versus everybody. Hell yeah.
The Olympics are ours now.
If I put an American flag in my Twitter handle, does that make me more patriotic, or is that point at this point is it like
I think it's a red
like,
flag.
do I out myself as like being stupid if I do that at this point?
I think it's pretty much the latter.
It's so disappointing that like 90% of the people that do that are so dumb.
God.
It's like you're narcissistic. It's like you're confusing that with intelligence, man. Like, settle down. How dare you be smarter than me, you smug son of a bitch? A lot of people go to college for 6 years.
Oh, I lost complete control of the show.
Please save
And
us.
I didn't
Oh
even
no,
try.
you're the host?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
I
You
didn't
knew the
even try.
implications bringing me in here. This is mostly on you.
Oh wow, I would take full responsibility.
We did bring a can of gasoline into the studio tonight.
like how far could we push it? And then I just forgot to actually throw my hands up and say stop the show. I just was like, what's gonna happen next?
See, you guys are basically the wicker furniture, and then I'm the gasoline that comes in,
And
and
I'm
Bree
the
just
match?
threw one match,
Yeah.
and it was like,
Yeah,
all this because I'm mad about George Karlaftis. Wow, that got out of hand fast. I'm sorry. I don't have anything
The
against the guy.
Karloftis slam came
Bree.
hard.
Oh,
That was
man, that
quick.
derailed.
Hurry, let's do it's that time of the evening.
Oh, Joey's trivia question of the day.
Let's go. All
Okay.
right, Mario, are you ready for this?
Oh,
All right.
you're asking me?
Or
Okay.
he's asking
Joey's
everyone.
asking all of us.
Okay, so
Do we have to buzz in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put your answers
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the comments if you're watching.
okay, so in the 2000s thing, so hint, this has happened in the 2000s. Who has
What?
the most career rushing yards in a single game for the Broncos?
In a single game?
Wait, career rushing yards or rushing yards? In a
Mike
season?
just-
Anderson.
Okay, who's yours?
No, because that was going to be mine.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. 'cause
You were
he
going to
was
say
on
Tony
my board.
Scheffler.
He was on my board.
Tatum Bell.
Mike Anderson is correct. He had 251 yards against the Saints in 2000.
Yeah, that's one of the all-time rushing performances. I'm pretty sure because I think 291 is the record.
Yeah.
So he's right. He's right there.
Well, it might be 297. I think Peterson
You're
did
right.
that.
Here.
Because he was so close. It was what year was that? 2010?
2007.
2011. Oh,
That was his rookie year.
No, Adrian. It was against the Chargers, right?
Yeah.
297.
And then in a different game, or maybe that one, Peterson also set the NFL record for rushing yards in a half with 253 rushing yards in the second half.
Why'd you stop giving him the ball? It was like when Kittle had like 300 yards against us in the first half, and then he didn't catch another pass. Shanahan was
insane.
like, "Yeah, that was my bad, George. I'm sorry."
Yeah, Mike Anderson is here.
Then he had rookie of the year that year too. And that's why he was on my big board. So shut up, Mario.
13th all time.
all time.
And he went to Baltimore and then came
11th
back
of the
to Denver.
century.
He pulled a Shannon Sharp, didn't he?
Who did?
Mike Anderson.
Yeah.
I think he went to Baltimore and then came back
I just closed
for
it.
like 1 or 2 seasons.
Let me pull up Mike Anderson's pro football. Sorry,
He
I
went
should
to
have.
Baltimore.
Did you
It
just
doesn't-
Google Mike
it does-
Anderson football
No,
career?
he didn't
Google
come
said
back.
why?
No, it's worse. He looked up Mike Anderson on Wikipedia.
It doesn't show that he came back.
No, he
I
did
guess
not
I
come back.
misremembered. Okay.
Won rookie of the year though. I didn't know that. Hey, good on
I
Mike
literally
Anderson.
just said that. Thank you.
Well, I've just kind of selective listening.
Just completely tuned me out.
Mike
That's fine.
Anderson had his one rookie year. He's the perfect example of the Mike Shanahan system, Kyle Shanahan system, where we're rotating
Right.
backs. From one year to the next, you don't know.
Right, because it was Mike Anderson, and then it was Olandis Gary, and then one year it was Reuben Drones, who I think started as a fullback.
Yeah.
And then they turned him into a running back. Peyton Hillis, I'm sure we all remember him.
Selvin Young was in there.
The craziest thing about Peyton Hillis he was at Arkansas with Felix Jones and Darren McFadden, and both of those guys went in the first round. And then Peyton Hillis was the 7th round pick. And I was like, oh, he was the fullback for 2 really good backs. Like, he must be good. And then they had injuries, and there was a game they like converted him to running back. And I think it was against the Dolphins in his like first game as like a starting running back. And he had like 2 or 3 touchdowns and like 150 all-purpose yards. Awesome. And then he went to Cleveland, and he was on the cover of Madden. And we all know what happens when you get to the cover of Madden.
It's bad. Yeah.
Poor Peyton. I wonder what that guy's up to. I'd love to have a beer with him.
Yeah, Peyton Hillis, right?
He seems like a PBR guy, doesn't he?
Yes.
I bet he sounds like Benjamin Albright. Just like that like southern hick drawl that you have.
That was my impression of a Benjamin Albright deep throat.
It's more.
Can you do an impression of the voice just so all of our listeners?
My name's Benjamin Albright. Howdy. Well, let me tell you, like, Ryan likes pumpkin spice, but I don't. The pants that I wear are too tight, and I have 18 different waffle shirts.
Okay.
Bree, host, quick.
Bree, you keep throwing matches into the can of gasoline. You're the host.
Yeah.
Don't steer us off the cliff.
I'm literally just sitting here as gasoline. As long as you don't bring an open flame over here, we're not going to have problems.
Yeah, Bree's over there lighting fires and throwing her hands up.
Like, do an impression of Ben.
What's that? No, stop.
Wait, what happened?
Wait, I'm sorry.
Do an impression of Ben. Did anyone notice it got really hot in here all of a sudden?
All right, guys. What a fantastic episode. Can you come into the studio more often? Like, can you do like once?
That's another match.
Yeah, who else do you want me to talk crap about? Is there anybody else on your your crap list?
Next time on Let's Talk Broncos, Zach Seegers.
Oh, his neck's way too long. Like, I don't know how he fits into his car and like sees through his windshield, because like his head is like, definitely grazing the top of his car. It's like he's in here like he's like, goddamn neck.
No, I just put it out through the sunroof. I got a sunroof.
Oh, there you go. Did that guy cut me off? I can't tell.
All right. Thanks for joining.
No, it's great. And when a guy does cut me off, I can lean over the car and spit into it.
Zach puts his head out the window and leans forward like Mr. Fantastic. He looks right next to the guy.
I lean my head into their car and just like have a well-reasoned conversation with them about it. Just like, that was really unnecessary. You need to like improve your driving.
All right.
You're so narcissistic.
I don't know what's going to make it to the actual pod. This is the show.
All of it. You're not cutting anything.
This is what we presented to you today. I knew going into this it could be risky, and I hope you had a hell of a time with us. This is the Let's Talk Broncos crew. Mari, can you tell people exactly where they can find you? And
no,
Spider-Man.
Never mind. Mario doesn't.
If you don't follow me already, like.
You've made your mind up on Mario.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like, if you're not following me at this point, you're probably not going to. So,
goodness, boys, where can they find your stuff?
Yeah, follow me at JR Drafts. All my writing is on Mile High Sports.
Just is so not into it. More and more every on Twitter at Zach_Seegers. All my writing over at milehighsports.com.
JR's trying to get out of here to do exactly what.
Oh God. I'm Bree Macis. You can find me on Twitter, Bree Macis 303. You can find me on Mile High Sports, the Fan Cave 1 to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday with the Let's Talk Broncos crew. And as always, follow us on Twitter because it's a heck of a time over there and we have a lot of fun. Appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe, share the chat. Don't share the chat. Share the stream. Chime in the chat. I don't know. We'll talk to you later.
JR just got a text that said my parents aren't home and he's out of here.
Get a cartoon sound effect. Zing.